The storm came sudden and hard, a roar of cold wind sweeping across the plains like a pack of wolves let loose. Snow twisted through the air, devouring the horizon until the world turned white and ghostly. Inside his half-built barn, Eli Ward swung his lantern higher, cursing softly as he secured the last plank against the wind's bite. He was used to the cold. The prairie had taught him plenty about loneliness and weather that tried to kill you. But even he felt something unnatural about that night. That's when he saw her. A shadow stumbled through the flurry near the corral, small, shaking, barefoot. Eli's first thought was that it was a ghost. His second thought was worse. He dropped his hammer, hand flying to the Winchester leaning by the wall. The figure collapsed right into the snow. "Damnation," he muttered, heart pounding. Eli stepped out into the wind, boots crunching in the drift, lantern swinging. When the light hit her face, he froze. She wasn't white. Her skin was coppered, her dark hair tangled and rimmed with frost. Her lips were blue, her dress torn, bare feet bleeding. She was young, 15, maybe 16, an Indian girl. Eli glanced out into the darkness, half expecting the rest of her tribe to come charging over the hill. Nothing but the wind answered. He knelt beside her. Her breathing was shallow, almost gone. "Hellfire," he whispered, pulling off his coat. "You'll be dead in 5 minutes if I don't." He didn't finish. He scooped her up, light as a rag doll, and carried her into the barn. Inside, the air was just a shade warmer, the lantern flickering against the rough boards. Eli laid her on a bed of hay, wrapping his coat tight around her shoulders. Her hands were cold as river stones. He worked fast, built a small fire in an old bucket, rubbed her arms, fed her spoonfuls of warm water when her lips started to twitch. After an hour, she stirred. Her eyes opened, black, sharp, and full of something wild. She looked at him like she was staring at a rattlesnake. "It's all right," he said softly, raising his hands. "Ain't gonna hurt you." She tried to sit up, but winced, clutching her ribs. Eli saw the bruises then, deep and purple across her arms and side. He frowned. "You been running from someone." She didn't answer, just glared, breathing hard. Then, in a faint whisper, she said one word. "Soldiers." Eli went still. He'd heard stories, raids gone wrong, villages burned in the name of peace. The Comanche didn't forgive easy. And now, one of their girls was lying half dead in his barn. Outside, the wind howled like a warning. Eli didn't sleep that night. He sat by the fire, shotgun across his knees, watching her. She drifted in and out, whispering in her own tongue. Once, she reached for something invisible, muttering a name, maybe her father's. By dawn, the snow had stopped. The prairie gleamed silver under a pale sun. Eli stepped outside to fetch water from the well. His boots crunched across the frozen yard. The air was quiet, too quiet. Even the crows were gone. That's when he saw the tracks. Horse tracks, dozens of them. His gut went cold. He spun, scanning the horizon. Then he saw them, dark specks cresting the ridge to the east, moving fast. Warriors, Comanche. Eli's stomach turned to stone. He bolted back to the barn. The girl was sitting up now, alert, eyes wide with fear. "They're comin', ain't they?" he said, breathless. She nodded slowly. "My father." Eli froze halfway across the room. "Your father." She met his eyes. "Chief Tawa." Eli nearly dropped his rifle. Chief Tawa was a name that made soldiers lose sleep. A fierce war leader, known for never letting white men live when they crossed his land. Eli cursed under his breath. "You had to be his daughter, didn't you?" He peeked through a crack in the barn wall. Dust clouds swirled on the horizon, 20, maybe 30 riders. Spears glinted in the sun. He turned back to her. "Listen, if they think I hurt you." She shook her head. "You helped me. I tell them." Eli stared at her. "They won't believe you." A deep rumble shook the ground. The warriors had surrounded his property, horses snorting steam, faces painted for war. The chief rode in front, tall, proud, eyes like cold fire. Eli stepped outside, shotgun lowered but ready. The chief dismounted, walked toward him slow. Behind him, a dozen warriors drew arrows. Eli raised his hands. "I didn't hurt her. Found her in the snow last night." The chief said nothing, just studied him. Then he barked something sharp in Comanche. The girl's voice came from the barn. "Father, he saved me." Every head turned. She stumbled out, still weak but standing. She ran to her father, speaking fast in her own tongue. The chief's face didn't move for a long time. Then he turned back to Eli, his eyes narrowing. Finally, he spoke in rough English. "You helped my daughter." Eli nodded once. "Yes, sir. She'd be dead if I hadn't." The chief looked him up and down. "You alone here, just me, trying to build a place worth keeping." The chief said something low to his men. A few dismounted, checking the barn. One came back and nodded. The air was thick with silence. Eli's heart pounded so hard he thought it might burst. Then, to his shock, the chief stepped forward and held out his hand. "You are a brave man," he said slowly. "Not all white men have heart. You have." Eli blinked, stunned. He shook the man's hand, rough palm meeting rough palm. The girl smiled faintly, relief washing over her face. But the peace didn't last long. A distant gunshot cracked through the air. The sound echoed across the valley, and all hell broke loose. Another shot, then 3 more, from the ridge. Eli whipped around. A patrol of U.S. cavalry was cresting the hill, rifles raised. "Jesus Christ," he breathed. The Comanche scattered for cover. Arrows hissed through the air. Bullets slammed into the barn, splintering wood. The girl screamed as her father shoved her down behind a trough. Eli dove behind a wagon, returning fire with his Winchester. "Stop shooting, you damn fools," he yelled, but no one heard. The air filled with smoke and snow. Horses screamed. Men fell. Eli crawled toward the girl, grabbing her arm. "Stay down." Her father was shouting orders in Comanche, eyes blazing. Eli saw one of the soldiers aiming straight at him. Without thinking, he tackled the chief out of the way. The bullet grazed Eli's shoulder, spinning him into the mud. He gritted his teeth, firing back until his rifle clicked empty. By the time the last shot faded, the ground was a mess of blood and churned snow. Half the soldiers lay dead or wounded. The survivors fled, leaving behind their wounded captain. Eli lay on his side, shoulder bleeding, breathing hard. The chief stood over him, face unreadable. The girl knelt beside Eli, pressing a cloth to his wound. "You helped again," she whispered. The chief crouched, staring at him long and hard. "You fight for my people." "Why?" Eli spat blood, managed a crooked grin. "Didn't fight for nobody. Just don't like men shooting at women in my barn." For the first time, the chief almost smiled. He stood, raised his hand, and his warriors began to retreat, carrying their dead. Before leaving, the chief turned back. "You come to our camp," he said. "You safe. My daughter say you friend. Then you friend of Tawa." Eli blinked. "I appreciate that, but I'll stay put. Got fences to mend." The chief nodded slowly. "Then the wind guard you, white man." They rode off into the sunrise, a trail of dust and sorrow in their wake. Eli sat there until the silence swallowed everything. The girl stayed beside him, still holding the cloth to his wound. When she finally stood, she said softly, "You good man, Eli Ward. My father will not forget." She turned to go, wrapped in his old coat. The sun caught her hair, and for a moment, she looked like a spirit walking back to the land that had borne her. Eli watched until she vanished into the plains. Then he turned back to his broken barn. The snow was already melting. Blood had turned the drifts red. He leaned on his rifle, shoulders aching, and let out a shaky laugh. "Well," he muttered, "guess I built myself a reputation today." That night, as the prairie wind whispered through the cracks, Eli thought he heard hooves again, soft and distant. But when he stepped outside, there was nothing. Just the wide, endless sky, and a single eagle circling above the ridge. He touched his bandaged shoulder and smiled faintly. Somewhere out there, Chief Tawa's people rode under the stars. And maybe, just maybe, one of them remembered the white farmer who didn't turn away from a freezing girl in the snow. The next spring, Eli found a bundle left at his gate, a finely woven blanket painted with the image of an eagle flying over snow. No note, no message, but he knew what it meant. Forgiveness, and a promise. From that day on, when travelers asked why no Comanche ever raided the Ward place, Eli just smiled and said, "Because once, I gave their princess a coat." And when the wind blew cold, he sometimes thought he heard a woman's voice on it, soft as a prayer, saying, "Brother."